In this video, I'll discuss slip stitch selvage edges and seaming. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Slip stitch selvages have their place, but they do not belong in any knitting where you are going to be seaming those edges. Let me show you why. Here's what a finished stockinette stitch seam, mattress stitch seam, should ideally look like. It's invisible. It is hard to see where it is until the pieces are pulled apart, right? It's very neat. It's lovely looking. When you use a slip stitch selvage, this is what you end up with. The slip stitch forces the second stitch in to become essentially a selvage stitch because the slip stitch is not worked. And then the first stitch that's worked is the following stitch, which, if you know anything about knitting, you know that selvage stitches can have an irregular tension to them. So using a slip stitch selvage forces the visible stitch after you seam to be one of those irregular tensioned stitches. And then it shows in the finished seam. That is unattractive compared to this seam. So I highly recommend not slipping your stitches at your selvage edge. The other drawback to using a slip stitch selvage edge is that it forces you to use the ratio of one pickup or one seam for every 2 rows of knitted work. This seam then is not as sturdy because only every other row, every second row, you're seaming essentially 2 rows to 2 rows. Whereas if you use a straight stockinette stitch selvage, don't do anything special with that selvage stitch. This allows you to seam every single row to every single row and creates a sturdier seam while also being much more attractive. I don't often say that there's a right or wrong in knitting, but in this case I would say that it's not a good idea to use a slip stitch selvage stitch if you're planning to seam those pieces. Don't use that. Use a plain stockinette stitch, no special treatments on the edge, so that you can have the nicest and sturdiest looking seam as possible. What do you think of this advice? Have you used slip stitches in your seamed selvage edges before? What did you think of your finished seams while using those? Let me know in the comments below. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.